I still remember the sound of the drill before I even fully woke up to what was happening. By the time the sun was up, the damage was already done, a bright red. Tow away. Sign bolted into the wooden bridge I built with my own hands, sitting deep inside my private land, like someone had stamped their authority right onto my life. And a few days later, standing right where that sign hung, I watched law enforcement tell the HOA to take it down, because what they did crossed a line they never had the right to touch. I woke up that morning thinking it would be like any other. Quiet, cold air hanging low over the yard, frost clinging to the grass until the sun decided to do its job. I stepped outside with a mug of coffee, still half asleep, boots crunching softly on the gravel. That's when I saw it. That flash of red. Sharp, loud, completely wrong. The bridge had always blended into the land. Weathered wood, soft gray from years of rain and sun. I built it myself, plank by plank, years ago, hauling lumber on my shoulder, lining up every bolt so it could carry the weight of my truck without a complaint. No one ever cared when boards warped. No one ever helped when storms knocked a pylon loose. That bridge was mine in every way that mattered. But now it looked branded. A tow sign. City-grade metal. Not cheap tin. The kind meant for parking lots and apartment complexes. Bolted clean through the post holes, drilled straight and deliberate. Whoever put it up didn't rush. They planned it. My stomach tightened as I walked closer. The creek below felt quieter than usual, like even the water was holding its breath. The sign faced the road, not my house. That detail hit me hard. It wasn't meant to warn me. It was meant to tell strangers they had authority here. I touched the edge of the metal. Cold, solid, wrong. There wasn't even a place to park near the bridge unless you counted the dirt patch at the edge of my drive. The absurdity of it made me shake my head, but the longer I stood there, the heavier it felt. This wasn't a mistake. Mistakes don't come with power tools and fresh bolts. I already knew who did it. The HOA. They'd been circling for months. Little comments, little community standards reminders, fence height, paint shades, nothing serious. I kept my head down, fixed my own problems, didn't argue. Maybe that made me an easy target. Maybe someone on the board thought I wouldn't push back. Standing there, I realized something important. Property lines decide everything. It's one of those plain English truths you don't think about until someone tries to cross them. And that sign wasn't just a warning. It was a claim. I checked the boundary stake on the way back to the house. Bright paint. Exactly where I'd repainted it last spring. The bridge sat well inside my land. That hadn't changed. Land doesn't move unless water carves it away, and my creek had stayed steady for years. Inside, I set my gloves down and stared out the window. That red sign glared back like a bruise. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. A misunderstanding. But something deeper didn't sit right. And I was right. By midday, a notice was taped to my gate. Not mailed, not handed to me. Taped. Bold words, stiff warnings. According to the HOA, the bridge was common property now. Unauthorized use. Possible fines. Possible towing. I read it twice, then a third time. They didn't cite a single map, no survey, no deed, just claims printed like facts. That's when the doubt started creeping in. I sat at the kitchen table, notice spread out in front of me, coffee going cold. For the first time since I bought the place, I wondered, what if I was wrong? What if there was something buried in the paperwork I missed years ago? What if they had some obscure clause, some line in a document that gave them the right? That question sat heavy in my chest. The next letter came fast, then another. Fines, daily penalties, words designed to make you react before you think. And for a moment I almost did. I stood on the bridge one afternoon staring at the sign, and the thought crossed my mind, maybe I should just take the bridge down. Avoid the fight, avoid the stress. That was my lowest point. I'd built something with my own hands, maintained it for years, and now I was standing there wondering if it was easier to erase it than defend it. That realization hurt more than the sign ever could. What snapped me out of it wasn't anger, it was clarity. I asked myself one simple question: if they really owned this bridge, why hadn't they shown proof? That night I pulled every document I had out onto the table. Deed, old surveys, county maps, Photos from when I rebuilt the bridge after a storm. The morning light caught the raised seal on the deed, and there it was in plain English. Creek, bank, bridge footprint. All mine. The more I looked, the stronger I felt. A neighbor stopped by the next day. Tom. He leaned on the fence and glanced at the papers in my hand. "They after you too?" he asked. He told me the board had a habit of going after quiet folks pushing hard until someone asked for proof. Then suddenly they'd backpedal. That was the moment I realized this wasn't confusion. It was a test. I met with an attorney the next morning. He didn't use big words, didn't need to. He traced the survey lines with his pen and nodded. "If it's on your land and you maintain it, that's usually the end of the story," he said. "They don't have a leg to stand on." We sent certified letters, calm, factual, no emotion, just truth. The HOA responded with louder letters, sharper tone, still no proof. So we escalated. An independent review was requested. Official, outside eyes, no opinions, just facts. Then one morning while I was stacking firewood, a sheriff's truck rolled slowly up my drive. Calm, steady, no accusations. He followed me to the creek, crouched by the boundary stake, checked the alignment, walked the bridge step by step. "Did they notify you before putting this up?" he asked, tapping the sign. "No," I said. "I found it one morning." He nodded, took photos, made a call. When he hung up, he looked at me and said, "From what I'm seeing, this bridge sits fully inside your property line." Those words felt heavier than any threat the HOA had ever sent. A few days later, a task force arrived. Clipboards, maps, quiet confidence. They didn't argue. They measured, compared, verified. One of them studied my documents, paused on the survey, and said softly, "Clean line, clear placement." 2 days after that, the decision came back. The bridge was mine, fully, legally, unquestionably. The HOA was ordered to remove the signs immediately and stop issuing threats on private land. I watched from my porch as 2 board members walked down to the creek shoulders, tight eyes down. They unbolted the signs without a word, stacking them like scrap metal. No apology, just silence. Later a letter arrived, refunds issued, records corrected, tone suddenly careful. I walked onto the bridge that evening. No red metal, just weathered wood and the steady sound of water beneath my feet. Everything exactly where it belonged. The lesson was simple. HOAs only feel powerful when you don't know where your boundaries are.